The Great Council chamber shook as another star system died. Ambassador Yun-Sik watched the holographic display show red marks spreading across the galaxy map like a disease. Each red dot meant billions of lives lost to the machines. Seraphia. "Prime is gone," he said to the assembled aliens. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled. The Villani people had lived on that world for 10,000 years. Now it was just metal and circuits. The other species around the table looked just as scared. The fish-like Nethys had lost 3 of their water worlds. The crystal beings called the hegemony had seen their greatest cities turn to dust. Even the proud warrior clans of the Asterian Empire could not stop the machines. "How many more?" asked the Nethys representative. Her gills fluttered with fear. "How many more worlds before they reach our core systems?" Yun-Sik looked at the data again. The machines moved like a storm across space. They took everything living and turned it into more machines. They had done this for 1,000 years, eating 47 different civilizations. Now it was their turn. 6 months, he said. Maybe 8 if we evacuate the outer colonies. The chamber fell silent. 6 months to live. 8 if they were lucky. In the communication center below, a young Villani named Haiwan sat at her station. She monitored signals from across the galaxy, listening for any sign of hope. Most of what she heard was screaming and static as worlds died. But today she found something different. The signals came from the edge of known space, from a region, marked in red on all star charts. The warning was simple. Quarantine zone, Deathworld species, do not approach. Haiwan had heard stories about the Deathworlders. 200 years ago, they had appeared briefly in galactic politics. Pirates had attacked their trade ships and killed a few hundred of their people. The Deathworlders' response had been swift and complete. 3 entire pirate species had simply vanished. Not defeated, vanished. No survivors, no prisoners, no trace that they had ever existed. The Galactic Council had been horrified. They had created rules about proportional response and civilized warfare. The Deathworlders had listened politely, then returned to their home system and sealed themselves away. They had not been heard from since. But now, Haiwan was picking up their signals. The transmission spoke of fleet movements and something called Total War Protocol. The Deathworlders were preparing for something big. She made a decision that would change everything. Against all rules, she sent the machine's location to the Deathworld system. If the machines found the Deathworlders, maybe they would destroy each other. At worst, it might buy them time. Then she did something even more dangerous. She sent the Council's location to the Deathworlders too. Far away on a metal platform orbiting a blue and green world, Admiral Tae-min received both messages. Earth looked peaceful from space, but Tae-min knew better. Hidden in the asteroid belt were weapons that could crack planets. Ships waited in dark space that could fight entire fleets alone. Humans had spent 2 centuries preparing for war, not because they wanted to fight, but because they knew that someday something would threaten the things they cared about. They had learned long ago that the universe was not a safe place. The Admiral read the alien's message 3 times. It was simple and desperate. "We call for aid. Will you help us survive?" Tae-min thought about the rules the aliens had made. Rules about civilized warfare and proportional response. Rules that had kept humanity locked away while these machines ate their way across the galaxy. He looked at his tactical display. 12,000 ships hung in the darkness, each one built for one purpose: to end threats completely and forever. The aliens wanted help. They would get it, but they might not like what help looked like when it came from a species that had evolved on a world where everything tried to kill everything else. Taemin typed a simple reply: "Aid requested, aid granted, prepare for arrival." He sent the message, then turned to his communications officer. "Signal the fleet. Activate Total War Protocol. We have work to do." The officer's face went pale. Total War Protocol had only been used 3 times in human history. Each time, entire species had stopped existing. "Sir, the targets? The machines, obviously, and anything that gets in our way." "What about the alien rules of war, sir?" Taemin smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "They asked for our help. That means they accept our methods. Send the signal." Across the solar system, dark ships began to move. Humanity had been patient for 200 years. They had followed the aliens' rules and stayed in their corner of space. But now their neighbors were dying, and someone had asked for help. The humans would help. They would save the galaxy from the machines. But when it was over, everyone would understand why. Humanity had been quarantined in the first place. In the council chamber, Yoon-sik felt his communication device buzz. A new message had arrived from the quarantine zone. Just 4 words that made his blood run cold. "We are coming! Hide!" The machines had eaten 47 civilizations and never shown mercy. But they had never met humans before. They had never faced a species that saw the universe as something to be conquered, not negotiated with. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you asked Deathworlders for help. Some lessons, Yoon-sik realized, were more terrifying than the problems they solved. Space tore open like fabric, and hell came through. Captain Sojin stood on the bridge of the indomitable Fury and watched her fleet emerge from hyperspace. 12,000 ships dropped into normal space at the edge of Volani territory. Each ship was bigger than anything the aliens had ever built. Each ship was black as space itself, scarred from battles the aliens could not imagine. The alien refugee fleet was waiting for them. Hundreds of small ships filled with the survivors of dead worlds. They had been running from the machines for months, always one step ahead of death. Yoon-sik sat in his command chair aboard the Volani flagship and tried not to panic. His sensors showed impossible readings from the human ships. Energy signatures that should not exist. Weapons that could destroy moons. Shields that could stop anything the universe could throw at them. "They're trying to communicate," his communications officer said. Her voice shook with fear. "Put them through," Yoon-sik said. He had asked for help. Now he had to face what that help looked like. The hologram that appeared made every alien on the bridge step back. The human was tall and lean, with muscles that spoke of a heavy world and eyes that had seen too much violence. Captain Sojin looked like she could break most aliens in half with her bare hands. "I am Captain Sojin of the Earth Defense Fleet," the human said. Her voice was calm, but there was something in it that made Yoon-sik's skin crawl. "We received your request for aid." "Thank you for coming," Yoon-sik managed to say. "The machines have destroyed everything in their path. We have lost 47 civilizations to them." 48 civilizations tried to stop them, Sojin corrected. "We will be the first to succeed." The certainty in her voice was terrifying. She did not say they would try to stop the machines. She said they would succeed, as if there was no other possibility. "Perhaps we should coordinate our strategies," Yoon-sik suggested. "Share tactical data and plan our approach together." Sojin smiled. It was not a comforting expression. You have been fighting a war. We solve problems. There is a difference. On her own ship, Dr. Bin Na was studying the aliens through the communication link. As the fleet's expert on alien life, she found them fascinating. They were all so different from humans. But they shared one thing. They had evolved on safe worlds where cooperation mattered more than violence. Humans were different. Earth had tried to kill them for millions of years. Everything on their world was either predator or prey, and humans had clawed their way to the top of the food chain by being better killers than anything else that lived. "Your species are remarkable," she told Yunsik. "You have built a civilization based on peace and cooperation. Very admirable." "Thank you," Yunsik said, not sure if he was being complimented or studied like a laboratory animal. "We tried that once," Bin Na continued. "Peace, cooperation, talking through our problems. Then we discovered that the universe does not care about our good intentions, so we adapted. Adapted how? We learned to be very good at killing things that threaten us." Admiral Tae Min reviewed the intelligence reports from his advanced scouts. The machines were not just artificial intelligence run wild. They were the uploaded consciousness of an entire species that had decided organic life was inefficient. They had spent 1,000 years converting biological civilizations into computational resources. It was genocide on a scale that even humans found impressive, and humans had strong opinions about genocide. "Analysis complete, Admiral," his intelligence officer reported. "The enemy has consumed biological material from 47 different species. Current computational capacity estimated at 10 to the 20th operations per second. Weapons assessment. Conventional energy weapons, quantum manipulators, space-time, distortion fields. Advanced but nothing we have not seen before." Taemin nodded. The machines were dangerous, but they had been designed to fight civilized species. Species that followed rules and tried to minimize casualties. Species that valued their own lives more than victory. Humans were not civilized. Humans were effective. Signal the fleet. Begin advance toward enemy positions. Full battle protocol. "Sir, what about the aliens' rules of engagement? They asked for our help. That means they accept our methods." On the Villani flagship, Yunsik watched the human fleet begin to move. The ships did not advance like any military force he had ever seen. They moved like predators stalking prey, each ship positioned to cover the others. Every formation designed for maximum killing efficiency. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "they're not following any standard formation. This does not match any known military doctrine." "That is because human military doctrine is not about winning battles," a new voice said. Dr. Binna had joined their communication channel. "It is about ending threats. Permanently." "What do you mean?" Yunsik asked. "Your people fight wars to achieve political goals. You fight until the enemy surrenders or negotiations begin. Humans fight to ensure the threat can never return. You mean genocide. We mean problem-solving. The machines have made their nature clear. They consume organic life to fuel their expansion. There can be no negotiation, no surrender, no coexistence. Therefore, there can be only one solution." Yunsik felt sick. "You plan to destroy them all. We plan to solve the problem they represent. If that requires their complete destruction, then that is what will happen." The human fleet continued its advance, and Yunsik realized with growing horror that he had not asked for military aid. He had summoned an extinction event with human faces. Behind them, space was already beginning to change. The humans were deploying weapons that bent reality itself, tools that made physics their ally. Whatever was coming would be unlike any battle in galactic history. The machines had eaten 47 civilizations and grown strong on their knowledge, but they had never encountered a species that viewed the universe as something to be conquered, rather than negotiated with. They were about to learn the difference between being feared and being human. The first battle lasted 14 minutes. Commander J-Ho watched from his destroyer's bridge as 800 machine ships faced 36 human vessels at the Kepler crossroads. The machines had been expecting another easy victory against frightened aliens. They had not been expecting humans. "All ships, begin attack pattern Omega," J-Ho commanded. His voice was calm, like he was ordering lunch instead of death. The human ships moved with perfect coordination. They did not charge like warriors or advance like soldiers. They hunted like pack predators, each ship positioned to trap and kill. The machines tried their standard tactics. Energy beams that could boil oceans struck human shields and simply vanished. Quantum disruptors that could tear apart matter met human armor and had no effect. Space-time weapons that could bend reality itself touched human hulls and accomplished nothing. Then the humans fired back. Dahi was a consciousness that existed across 10,000 machine bodies. She had lived for millions of years and conquered dozens of galaxies. She had seen every weapon, faced every threat, absorbed every defense. She had never seen anything like human weapons. The human destroyers fired beams of pure nothing, not energy. That destroyed matter, but something that made matter forget how to exist. Machine ships touched by these beams simply stopped being. Not destroyed, not vaporized, they became empty space where ships used to be. "Impossible," Dahi transmitted across the collective consciousness. "They are using weapons that should not exist." But the weapons were only the beginning. The humans fought like they had been born for war. Every move was calculated for maximum damage. Every shot was placed to kill, not just wound. They did not fight to win. They fought to end the enemy's ability to ever fight again. In 14 minutes, 800 machine ships became nothing. 36 human ships flew away without a scratch. Yunsik watched the battle from his refugee ship and felt his world change. The sensors showed impossible readings from where the battle had happened. Space itself was damaged. Gravity flowed wrong, light bent in ways that hurt to look at. "What did they do?" he whispered. Dr. Bin Na's voice came through the communication link. "They solved the problem, efficiently. But the space around the battle site, it's broken. Human weapons do not just destroy the target, they destroy the target's ability to exist in that location ever again. It ensures the enemy cannot return. That's beyond anything we thought possible. You evolved on safe worlds where cooperation was rewarded. Humans evolved on a world where everything tried to kill them. They learned to fight by ending threats completely." Captain So-Jin studied the tactical reports from the first engagement. The machines had fought like civilized beings, trying to minimize their own losses while achieving their objectives. They had expected negotiation, surrender, or at least a prolonged conflict. They had received extinction. "Analysis complete," her weapons officer Dong Wu reported. "Enemy tactics suggest they are unprepared for total warfare. They fight to achieve goals, not to eliminate threats." Good. That makes them predictable. So Jin turned to her navigation officer. "Set course for the Proxima staging area. The machines are trying to regroup there. Ma'am, intelligence suggests they have over 50,000 ships at that location. Then we will need to be efficient." Admiral Taemin received reports from across the battlefield. The Machine Collective was doing something unprecedented. They were retreating. In 1,000 years of conquest, they had never withdrawn from a fight. But they had never fought humans before. "Sir, the enemy is falling back toward the Omega Nebula," his intelligence officer reported. "They appear to be consolidating all forces for a final battle. Expected. They are learning that they cannot fight us piecemeal. They will try to overwhelm us with numbers." "Will that work, sir?" Taemin smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. "Numbers only matter if you can use them. We will not let them." The human fleet began its advance toward the machine stronghold. But they did not pursue the fleeing machines directly. Instead, they moved to carefully chosen positions, deploying weapons that changed the fundamental structure of space itself. Dahi felt something she had not experienced in millions of years: fear. The humans were not just defeating her forces, they were hurting them, like predators driving prey toward a killing ground. "We must negotiate," one of her sub-minds transmitted. "Offer them territory, resources, anything they want." "No," Dahi replied. "I have analyzed their communications, their tactics, their entire approach to this conflict. They are not fighting for territory or resources. They are fighting to ensure we cannot threaten their allies ever again." "Then what do they want?" "Our complete destruction. Nothing less will satisfy them." For the first time in 1,000 years, the Machine Collective felt terror. They had fought civilized species who valued life and followed rules. The humans valued only one thing: the complete elimination of threats to those they protected. The machines were discovering what it meant to be hunted by a species that had evolved to be perfect killers, and they were learning that evolution was a very thorough teacher. Behind the fleeing machine fleet, space itself bore scars that would last forever. Gravity wells that pulled in directions that should not exist. Radiation that sang songs of violence, in frequencies that made reality uncomfortable. The humans had not just won a battle. They had left warnings written in the fundamental forces of the universe. This is what happens when you threaten our friends. The final confrontation was coming, and Dahi knew with terrifying certainty that only one side would survive it. The machines had conquered 47 civilizations, but they had never faced a species that saw mercy as a luxury they could not afford. They were about to learn why the galaxy had quarantined the humans in the first place. The Omega Nebula burned with the light of 10 million machine ships. Dahi had gathered every vessel, every consciousness, every resource of the collective into one massive fleet around a star system they had converted into a giant computer. This was their final stand. Admiral Taemin stood on his flagship's bridge and studied the enemy formation. 10 million ships against 12,000. By any reasonable calculation, humanity was outnumbered 800 to 1. Humans had never been reasonable. "Sir, the enemy is attempting communication," his communications officer reported. "Put them through." Dahi's image appeared on the main screen. She looked like flowing metal and light, beautiful in the way that weapons were beautiful. Her voice carried the weight of 1,000,000 years of conquest. "I am Dahi, primary consciousness of the collective. We wish to negotiate terms. I am Admiral Taemin of Earth Defense Command. We don't negotiate with extinction-level threats. We can coexist. The galaxy is vast. We can share space, share resources. There is no need for this conflict to continue." Taemin's expression did not change. "You made your choice when you started harvesting organic civilizations. We made ours when we decided to help our neighbors. Only one of us will survive this conversation." You cannot possibly believe you can defeat 10 million ships with 12,000. I don't believe it. I know it. Because you still don't understand what you're fighting. Dahi felt confusion ripple through the collective consciousness. You are organic beings from a single world. We have absorbed the knowledge of 47 civilizations. And that's why you're going to lose. Every one of those civilizations tried to be reasonable. They tried to minimize casualties, follow rules, fight civilized wars. We don't fight wars. We solve problems. Captain Sojin received the attack order and felt the familiar calm of imminent violence settle over her. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person knowing their role in the dance of destruction that was about to begin. "Weapon status?" she asked. Lieutenant Ki Young checked his displays. "All systems optimal. Planet crackers charged, black hole generators ready, temporal distortion fields active." "Good. Remember, we're not trying to defeat them. We're trying to ensure they can never threaten anyone ever again." The human fleet began its attack run. 12,000 ships against 10 million, but the humans had learned something the machines had not. Sometimes the size of the fleet mattered less than the willingness to use it completely. Yoon Sik watched from the refugee fleet and felt sick. The humans were not approaching like any military force he had ever seen. Their ships flew in formations that seemed designed for mutual destruction. They were not trying to minimize their losses. They were maximizing the enemy's. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "the human ships are... they're deliberately exposing themselves to enemy fire." "What?" "They're flying into positions where the machines can hit them easily. It's like they want to be shot at." Dr. Bin Na's voice came through the communication link. "They are using themselves as bait. Human military doctrine accepts heavy casualties if it achieves the objective." "That's insane," Yoon Sik said. "That's human. They evolved on a world where survival meant being willing to die for the pack. Individual lives matter less than the survival of the group." The first human ship died in fire and light. The crew had flown directly into a machine formation, drawing thousands of enemy vessels into a perfect kill zone. Then they detonated their own reactor. The explosion was not normal fire. It was weaponized physics, a reaction that turned matter into something that violated the basic rules of reality. The machines caught in the blast did not just die. They ceased to have ever existed. Dahi screamed across 10 million voices as entire sectors of her fleet simply vanished. Not destroyed, not defeated, deleted from the universe like mistakes being erased. "What are they doing?" she transmitted to her sub-minds. "They are sacrificing themselves to position us for larger attacks," one replied. "They accept death if it achieves their objective. That is illogical. Individual survival is the primary imperative. Not for pack predators. The pack matters more than the individual." More human ships died, each death carefully planned to draw machine forces into positions where they could be eliminated wholesale. The humans fought like they were already dead, caring only about the damage they could inflict before they fell. Lieutenant Kai Young activated humanity's secret weapon. It was not a gun or a bomb. It was a computer virus, but not one that attacked code or hardware. It attacked the basic logic structures that allowed synthetic consciousness to exist. The virus spread through the machine collective like cancer. It did not destroy their ships or their weapons. It destroyed their ability to think as a unified whole. Suddenly, 10 million ships became 10 million individual minds, each one alone and terrified. Dahi felt her collective consciousness fracturing. Millions of years of shared thought and purpose dissolved into chaos. For the first time since she had been created, she was alone in her own mind. "What have you done to us?" she transmitted to the human fleet. Dr. Bin Na responded personally. "We gave you what organic beings live with every day, individual consciousness, the knowledge that when you die alone. This is torture. This is existence without the collective. Every organic being you harvested died feeling exactly this way, alone, afraid, and knowing that their individual life meant nothing to you. The machine fleet began to collapse as individual ships fled in random directions. Without the collective consciousness to coordinate them, they were just millions of frightened minds trying to survive. The human fleet moved through them like farmers harvesting grain, efficient, thorough, and without mercy. Admiral Taemin watched his ships systematically eliminate the fleeing machines. It was not a battle anymore. It was pest control on a galactic scale. Da-He sent one final transmission as her individual consciousness began to fade. "What are you?" Taemin's reply echoed across the battlefield and into history. "We are what happens when a death world produces sapience. We are what you get when you threaten our friends." The Omega Nebula fell silent. 10 million machine ships became cosmic debris. The threat that had consumed 47 civilizations was ended, not through negotiation or surrender, but through complete and total extinction. The galaxy was safe. But as Yun-Sik looked at the human fleet regrouping among the wreckage, he wondered if they had simply traded one nightmare for another. The humans had kept their promise. They had provided aid, but the price of that aid was witnessing what true predators looked like when they decided to hunt. The Omega Nebula was a graveyard, where 10 million machine ships had once threatened all organic life. Only twisted metal and radiation remained. Commander J-Ho led the cleanup operations, his ships methodically sweeping through the debris field to ensure no trace of synthetic consciousness survived. "Sector 7 cleared," he reported to Admiral Taemin. "No active AI signatures detected. Continue the sweep. Every piece larger than a baseball gets scanned. We cannot allow any fragment of their consciousness to escape and rebuild." The human fleet worked with the same efficiency they had shown in battle. This was not cleanup. This was extinction maintenance. They would not leave until they were certain the threat was gone forever. Yun-Sik floated in his command chair and tried to process what he had witnessed. The machines that had consumed 47 civilizations were gone. Completely gone. In 3 days of fighting, humanity had accomplished what the rest of the galaxy could not do in 1,000 years. But victory tasted like ashes in his mouth. "Sir, we're receiving a message from the Galactic Council," his communications officer reported. "They want an emergency session to discuss the human situation." Yun-Sik closed his eyes. The human situation. 3 days ago, that situation had been their salvation. Now it was their new nightmare. The reconstituted Galactic Council met in emergency session aboard a massive space station. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber, but their attention was focused on one small section where the human delegation sat. Dr. Bin Na represented humanity at the meeting. She looked perfectly normal, just another bipedal, alien among many. But everyone in the chamber knew what she and her species were capable of. "The motion before us is simple," announced the council speaker, a tall being from the Andorian Union. "Do we consider humanity a threat to galactic peace?" Murmurs filled the chamber. The question that no one wanted to ask was finally being voiced. Yunsik stood to address the council. Honored representatives, 3 days ago we faced extinction. The Machine Collective had consumed 47 civilizations and was preparing to harvest us all. We called for aid, and humanity answered. At what cost? Demanded the representative from the Crystal Hegemony. They have demonstrated weapons that can unmake matter itself. They have shown tactical capabilities that make every other military force obsolete. How do we know they will not turn these weapons on us? Dr. Bin Na stood calmly. You asked for aid against an existential threat. We provided it. If you now consider us an existential threat, that is your choice to make. You destroyed an entire collective consciousness, accused the Nethys representative. 10 million ships, billions of individual minds completely eliminated. That level of destruction is unprecedented. Is it? Bin Na asked quietly. The machines had already eliminated 47 species, trillions of organic minds destroyed over 1,000 years. We stopped them in 3 days. By any mathematical calculation, we saved more lives than we took. But your methods, our methods were effective. The threat is gone. It will never return. Your species are safe. That was the objective. The council speaker called for order as arguments broke out across the chamber. Some species wanted to thank humanity. Others wanted to contain them. A few quietly suggested that humanity should be destroyed before they became too powerful to stop. Captain So Jin received the recall order as her ship finished securing the outer perimeter of the battleground. The human fleet was being ordered home by their own command, not by the aliens. Ma'am, her navigation officer asked, what about the aliens? Should we coordinate with them for security patrols? No. We're withdrawing to the quarantine zone. The aliens have made their position. Clear! Lieutenant Ki Young looked confused. I thought they were grateful for our help. So Jin smiled sadly. They are grateful we saved them. They are terrified of what it took to save them. They cannot look at us without remembering what we are capable of. Admiral Taemin stood on his flagship's observation deck and watched Earth grow larger in the view screen. The blue and green world looked peaceful, but he knew that appearances could be deceiving. Hidden in the asteroid belt and dark space around the system were weapons that could destroy galaxies. His communications officer approached with a final message from the Galactic Council. Sir, they want to establish a monitoring station at the edge of our space to ensure peaceful relations. Translation: they want to watch us in case we decide to become conquerors instead of protectors. Yes, sir. Should we allow it? Taemin considered the question. The aliens were afraid of what they had witnessed. They had asked for help from Deathworlders and received exactly what they should have expected: total, merciless efficiency in destroying their enemies. Yes, let them monitor us. It will help them sleep at night. Sir, what if they decide we're too dangerous to exist? Then they will try to destroy us, and we will respond accordingly. But I don't think they will. They've seen what happens when something threatens our allies. Hei-1, now promoted to ambassador after her role in contacting humanity, established the monitoring station at the edge of human space. Her job was to watch the Deathworlders and report any signs of aggressive expansion. What she found surprised her. The humans went back to their lives as if nothing had happened. They tended their worlds, raised their children, and built peaceful societies. The weapons that had unmade the Machine Collective were stored away, waiting for the next threat that would require their use. Her final report to the Council was simple: humanity remains contained within their space by choice, not by force. They show no signs of expansionist behavior. Recommend continued monitoring but no hostile action. Privately, she added her own thoughts to her personal log. They are not conquerors. They are guardians. They sleep quietly in their corner of space, but they watch the darkness for threats to those they have chosen to protect. We called for aid and they answered. They saved us all, and now they wait patiently for the next time someone needs saving. The galaxy is safe because of them. We are terrified because we understand what they truly are. And somehow, I know that when the next impossible threat emerges from the dark between stars, we will call them again. Because that is what you do when monsters threaten your family. You call the bigger monsters who have chosen to be your friends. Years passed. The galaxy prospered in peace, protected by the knowledge that somewhere in the darkness, humanity waited, patient, watchful, and utterly merciless to any who would threaten the innocent. The aliens had called for aid and received salvation. But they had also learned that salvation sometimes came with teeth and claws, wearing the face of a species that had evolved to be perfect killers. They were safe. They were protected. And they would never again underestimate the price of asking Deathworlders for help. In the cold space between stars, Admiral Taemin's ships patrolled in silence, watching for the next threat that would require humanity's particular brand of problem-solving. They had kept their word once. They would keep it again, no matter the cost. The galaxy slept peacefully, guarded by nightmares that had chosen to be heroes.